we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School, and I wanted to hit you guys up real quick and say hello, and I hope you guys are doing well. I also want to welcome you guys to the Black Financial Channel. In case you haven't signed up for the Black Financial Channel, make sure you subscribe at theblackfinancialchannel.com. You can get daily financial news and commentary from a black perspective, and we talk about all topics financial and break everything down in a way that's going to make sense to you and your family. So what's today's topic? Well, I got this message today. A friend of mine put this in my box, so I thought I would address it. It has to do with Barack Obama allegedly being on his way to billionaire status, and he's not doing it by himself. He's got his wife Michelle, who is a big-time earner financially. So the Obamas apparently are doing really well. And according to this, there's a new book coming out that basically says that they're on their way to billionaire status. I think the book is called Team of Five: The President's Club in the Age of Trump. And it says here that Barack and Michelle Obama are not close to the Clintons, so they throw a lot of stuff out there, with that. And I don't know if you could notice that Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton both this week or this month released documentaries that are designed to achieve specific goals. I speculate that Hillary is trying to position herself to possibly run for president again. I think we're going to get an October surprise or a September surprise. I think that Joe Biden will not be the Democratic Party candidate. I don't know why I feel that way, but I just feel like his health issues are they're pretty much aware of these problems. And I wouldn't be surprised if at the last minute they tell you, Joe was sick, he can't do it. So by the way, we got Hillary Clinton here, And now, will Michelle Obama run? I don't know. I watched both of their documentaries in detail, and they were interesting. They were very interesting stories. I did a detailed analysis of Michelle Obama's documentary not too long ago. You can feel free to go check that out. So here's what the book is arguing. They're basically saying that the Obamas are on their way to becoming billionaires, which is good for them. I think that's great. I wouldn't say it's so good for the black community, because I can't sit here and pretend like the Obamas were great assets for the black community. I can't say that I can point to a lot of areas where the black community has benefited. See you soon, babe. All right, love you.
Text me a list of things you need.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I can't say that the Obamas. I can't. When I look at their presence and what they really did substantively for black people, I didn't see a lot of improvement there. I lived a couple blocks from Barack, and I was just kind of fascinated by the fact that there were kids being shot a few blocks from his house, and nobody talked about it. But of course, maybe that makes me the crazy one for actually caring about black people. Even black people don't care about black people, which is one of the reasons why I think that you struggle as a community. And so anyway, but their strategy has worked. They got a lot of money coming in. I'm looking at this article here. Hot 97 kind of broke down some of the ways that the Obamas make money. They are making it rain since they left the White House. Let's see here. They said they entered the White House with a net worth of $1.3 million, which has grown to $40 million. They earned $400,000 per year when he was president. We know that stuff. He gets an annual pension of $200,000 a year. Also, reportedly, Obama gets paid as much as $400,000 for speaking engagements. He and Michelle Obama signed a book deal for over $60 million. They also reportedly earned $800,000 for 2 speeches at Northern Trust Corporation and the Carlyle Group, and a minimum of $1.2 million for 3 talks to Wall Street firms in 2017. So this really speaks to how money talks in this society. One of the reasons I believe that black people don't get much out of the deal when we go vote for the Democrats or the Republicans, whoever you vote for, is because we don't have an economic base. If you notice, why do you think a Wall Street firm would pay $1.2 million for 3 speeches? Like, what is it that anybody could say in 3 speeches that would be worth $1.2 million? What they're paying for is they're paying for influence. They're buying influence. You live in a capitalist society. It's not a democracy. It's a capitalist aristocracy. That's why, for example, you'll notice that every single Supreme Court justice attended Harvard or Yale at some point in their career, because it's an aristocracy. Because I'm sure there are great lawyers who come out of Stanford and University of Texas and places like that, but they don't get in because they're not from Harvard or Yale. And also the money thing really drives everything. And so for black people, you're kind of these these very poor tools that are utilized for the acquisition of power for more powerful people. You're not actually people that I believe this system is designed to empower. So so the Obamas, what else did they say here? They said from 2015 to 2016, Obama earned $15.6 million in advances and royalties from his books, The Audacity of Hope and Of Thee I Sing, A Letter to My Daughters, and royalties from Dreams from My Father. In 2018, when speaking in Johannesburg for the 100th anniversary of Nelson Mandela, he admitted that he was surprised by how wealthy he has become. So Obama has become pretty wealthy, and it makes sense, right? The Obamas have maintained a really strong public image, and it's paid off for them pretty well. If they're not, if they aren't on their way to billionaire status, meaning net worth, not actual cash flow, but net worth. To be a billionaire, if you can get to where you're cranking in 80 to 100 million a year, it's easy to justify billionaire status based on multiples of your income, right? So the Obamas, if they're not close to billionaire status, they're going to be very close very soon. And I think that's really, really good for them. And I'm not surprised. I mean, these Netflix deals are pretty massive. I watched Michelle Obama's documentary really closely because I wanted to kind of see how she was positioning her brand, what she was seeking to do. And if you want to ask me what disappoints me a little bit, is that there are 1,000 problems I could name right now that are very serious right here in the South Side, West Side of Chicago, that I think the Obamas could help solve in a second. I think they have not just the resources, but the power, to really shine a light on some important issues. And unfortunately, that's just something that's not important to people. Most people don't think that black people matter, especially if you're poor and you're black. And so that's why, election after election, what I've noticed is that they love to trigger black people. I read through Joe Biden's Lift Every Voice plan for black people. And what I saw in the beginning was he was seeking to really trigger you by talking a lot about COVID and the disparities and the deaths of COVID. I believe that media is mass marketing those death disparities to get your attention, to get you to, get bug-eyed and slave scared, so that you'll feel that you have to make sure you show up and vote in order to deal with whatever. Or there are people that we also trigger by basically saying things like, if you're upset about the death of Ahmaud Arbery, go vote for the Democrats, and that's how you can keep this from happening. Well, I don't care who you vote for. These deaths are going to continue to happen because your community doesn't have a capital base and it doesn't have a way to fortify itself. If your community does not have any ability to fortify itself, protect itself, or have a capital base, then you're always going to be victimized. I don't care who you vote for, because we've been doing this. We every election we vote. Every election we put certain people in office. Every election we've done this. So what's going to be different about this one versus the last one and the one before that and the one before that and the one before that? And so what I would just say is, I'm not mad at the Obamas for taking advantage of people that want to be taken advantage of, but I'm also not mad at you for putting your people first, for putting yourself first. And that's where I stand. I'm B1. If you agree with me, put B1, hashtag B1 in the chat. B1 means black first. Black first. I read through Joe Biden's plan, and someone asked me, they said, well, give me your opinion on Joe Biden's Lift Every Voice plan. And I read through it, and it wasn't like it was a bunch of BS, but it you know what it was? Basically, he was saying, we have all these things we're going to do, and here are all the things that we're going to do anyway. Here are how all these things are going to benefit black people, right? So that's like me saying, look, I'll give you a ride to your house because I'm going in that direction anyway, and I can drop you off 10 miles from your house because I'm going south anyway. But that's very different from me saying, I'm going to go out of my way and drive you right to your doorstep. I'm going to drive to your house because I care about you, right? If I just say, well, I'm going that way anyway, you can ride in the trunk and I'll just throw you out on the street, 10 miles from your mama's house, so you can walk the rest of the way. That's not the same as me driving you to your house, right? So for black people, I think that what they still don't get, is that Black people have been uniquely targeted by racial mistreatment for a very long time. Black people have been uniquely targeted for highway robbery, for mass incarceration. We've been uniquely targeted in a million different ways that I can't even count. So in order to deal with the fact that we've been uniquely targeted for the last 400 years, we must be uniquely targeted for solutions. Uniquely targeted. So what's unique targeting? I'll give you an example. One thing Joe Biden talks about is he says we want to strengthen the Small Business Administration because that evil villain Trump, again, trigger word, right? They trigger you with the word Trump. Trump. Get Trump out of office, right? Stop talking to me about Trump. I want to talk about you. I want to hear about what you're going to do, not what you think Trump did or not the fact that you think Trump doesn't like black people. I don't think you like black people. So stop telling me about Trump. So they say, well, since Trump cut money from the Small Business Administration, we're going to increase the funding for the Small Business Administration, and that's going to help black people. Well, you were probably going to do that anyway because that's kind of a Democratic Party platform, right? Because there are health disparities and black people are dying more from COVID than anything else. Actually, COVID's not the number one killer of black people. It's probably not even top 10. There's about 10 other things that kill black people. So the reality is that when you tell me you're going to strengthen the healthcare system, well, you're doing what Democrats typically do. They tend to want things like healthcare for all and stuff like that, which I think is fine. But I want to hear about reparations. I want to hear you say we're going to allocate $2 trillion to pay reparations to the descendants of slavery, specifically and only to address the fact that the United States government for the last 400 years has stolen $15 trillion from black people, and we owe them a massive debt that can never be repaid. I want to see that. Right? I know that's not realistic. I know that can't get passed through Congress. I know that y'all too racist to do it. But I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say my name. Like, don't tell me that I'm just going to do these things and I'm going to find a way to fit you in. And I think that's what they don't understand. All right? Right? So if you read through, Biden's plan, that's what you get. You kind of, get kind of the same stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote for them, though. I'm not telling you not to do it. That's one thing I want to make 100% clear. I do not tell people what to do in the election. I do not tell you to vote. I do not tell you not to vote. But what they get mad at me for is that I don't line up with all the other people trying to pressure you into voting. I don't believe in pressuring black people into doing something that is against their interest. I don't believe in pressuring black people into doing something that they're not comfortable doing. I don't believe in pressuring black people into doing something that they have logically concluded does not work for them. So if you want black people to vote, then okay, show some data, show some proof, show some statistics that really show that all these issues, that we're not going on a downward trajectory. We're going on a downward trajectory. When I can go to, a mile away from the president's house and point to 1,000 atrocities that he never ever addressed as president, never even spoke about it. But yet, you're telling me about something that happened somewhere else or something with some illegal immigrants or something that doesn't relate to me. Let the illegal immigrants put you in office. Let them vote for you. I guess they obviously love you. You're fighting for them harder than you're fighting for black people. Then cool. Let them be your support base. So, and I bring all that up also because the thing is that they need you. They need you. They can't have power without you. So Michelle Obama understands that. Michelle Obama mentioned in her documentary, she took the time out to mention how disappointed she was that black people didn't vote in the last election. And that language, I'm not going to say I was offended by that language. I wasn't offended because I expected. But that language is abusive language. That's the language of an abuser. And why do I say that? Well, because what an abuser will do is an abuser will point to what you did without taking a single second to talk about what they did to cause you to do what you did, right? An abuser is the kind of guy who will say, you left the household and you abandoned your children, and now the kids ain't got nothing to eat. I can't get them dressed for school. You abandoned the family. The abuser will do that, and he'll make you feel guilty about that. But the abuser will not once take a second to acknowledge that maybe the reason you had to leave the family is because he was beating your ass every day, or he was neglecting you or mistreating you in a horrible way. So that abusive language is a reflection of a lack of respect, and that's where they need to stop that. They just need to stop that. So the Obamas, I'm happy for them. I'm happy you got your Netflix deal. I'm happy white women love you all over the world. I think that that's great. Good for you. But when you come back and you start talking about black folks, I'm going to have to talk about you. I'm going to say, what did you do to even earn the right to come in and act like you can tell black people what to do. When you're telling black people, why didn't you vote? You need to vote. Where did you earn the right to do that? Some of us are enamored with the whole King Obama thing. Some of us, feel like, oh my God, Obama's Jesus and I must do what he says. But there are a lot of free-thinking black folks who are like, no, we're not going to do what you say just because we'll listen. Maybe we'll listen to a Farrakhan or somebody because he puts it on the line for black folks. He talks about those who don't have a voice. The Nation of Islam is representing communities that Obama would never go into. So maybe if Farrakhan said everybody should do something, people will be more apt to listen. But if Obama says it, it's like a white man coming down from the clouds and deciding I'm going to only engage you when I need something from you. When I don't need something from you, then I'm going to just, pretend like you don't exist, or I'm going to use you when it's convenient for me. And I think that that's a real issue. And so what was the last point I was going to make here on that? There was one more point I was going to throw in there about the Obamas and about that. I let's just make it clear. I think it's great that they're making their money. I think that what they are is they're basically entertainers. They're not difference makers. You can't point to any part of Southside Chicago where 10,000 people have new jobs because of something the Obamas did. Like you can't go and say, okay, this section used to be full of poverty and, having all these terrible issues. And now all these young people have jobs because the Obamas came through and created jobs for these companies. Also, remember this too. Another way you can tell whether or not people are serious about black people is whether or not they're willing to sit down and have conversations with serious black people to come up with serious solutions. So when you have somebody like, say, a Dr. Claude Anderson, who's loved and respected by black people everywhere because he loves black people so much and he's worked so hard to come up with solutions, and all these people are afraid to talk to him, they're afraid to even sit down and listen to somebody like that, that tells you that they ain't serious. If you go back to the Obama presidency, I followed him for 8 years very, very closely because I had a lot of hope in him too. I believed in him. I was voting for him before black people were voting for him. Seriously, I really was, because I was like, yeah, okay, maybe this guy's the real deal. But the thing about Obama that's interesting is that the whole time, the whole conversation surrounded things like black unemployment. And I still remember that the only time he would ever even address black unemployment, when they forced him to address it, he would sit down and talk to somebody like Al Sharpton, who basically was his yes man on the street. He was his yes man that would corral black people to allow them to use black people to stay in office, but not necessarily to serve black people. So my thought was, if you're really trying to solve a serious economic problem, you would be talking to serious economic people. If you're not talking to serious economic people, then you're not trying to solve a serious economic problem. If I want to solve an economic problem, I talk to an economist. I don't go talk to a preacher with a perm and invite him to the White House 75 times. Al Sharpton would be good to know where to go to get your hair done. He would be good if you needed somebody to come give a sermon. But he's not the guy you need to talk to about advanced economic theory that's going to allow you to formulate solutions that's going to close the wealth gap and allow for black people to have true economic possibility in this country. So, I know people get mad when I talk about it. I know people get mad because, unfortunately, we have a segment of our community that is deeply invested in hero worship. We get to the point where we just don't want to question anything or anybody, and we believe that either you love somebody and you believe everything they say, or you must hate their guts. And it really, it does bother me when people say, oh, you hate Obama because you, or they'll say something stupid like, oh, you must be a supporter of Trump. That tells me you're not intelligent enough to have this conversation, because you're making this about Democrat versus Republican. Smart black people are able to transcend that, Democrat Republican divide sort of thinking. They're able to transcend that. They're able to sort of see the big picture and understand, like, this ain't about being pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Obama, anti-Obama. It's about being pro-black people. It's about being B1. It's about putting black people first. It's about caring about your community, number one, and respecting those who do the same. The Obamas are not people that put the black community first in their agenda. They will carry their blackness on their skin. They will use their blackness when it comes to referencing things like entertainment. They will use their blackness when it's very safe to do so. But everybody wants to be black until it's time to really be black. So everybody wants to be black until it's time to really solve black problems. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be controversial. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to talk about black people being shot by the cops. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to talk about the massive black unemployment. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to talk about all the death and decay and destruction in our community. Everybody wants to be black until you talk about all the black families that have been destroyed through mass incarceration. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to really deal with and address serious issues in the black community. So if you pay attention with the Obamas, and if the Obamas were watching this is what I would say to their face, because I hate having to do this, because my fiance is an alumnus of the University of Chicago, where Barack and Michelle both worked and both taught and all this other stuff. And she met Michelle, and she said she's really tall, she's very nice, and she's really tall, right? And that's all she said, But so the Obamas are nice people. I live a couple blocks from them in Chicago, but at the end of the day, man, it's like, come on, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, what is this crap? Like, you've got like scenarios where there is literally something massive and traumatic that the whole black community is talking about. Somebody gets shot in their house by the cops. The whole community is talking about it, and you're tweeting the fact that you love the Beatles and think that white girls are fun or whatever, right? Like literally, if you look at Obama's Twitter, it's about the most pussy ass shit that you've ever seen in your life. It really is. It's very watered down. It's very very lame. It's very safe. It's very like, I don't want to mess up my Netflix deal. I don't want to mess up my situation with white folks. And then when black folks come up, it's maybe you're going to rap a couple lines from a Jay-Z song, because they compare themselves to Jay-Z and Beyonce. And I told you guys that that's one of the things you black people got to stop doing, all of us as a community. Stop comparing yourself to these damn entertainers. Stop looking up to these empty-headed, shallow-ass people, because that's why you're not getting nothing done. Because you're focusing on all the wrong things. You're focusing on this false status. You're focusing on this blatant, ridiculous materialism. And you're also becoming white supremacists, because most of these celebrities got their power by gaining favor with white folks. So because white folks have put them on a crown, or put a crown on their head and put them up on a pedestal, you look up to them and say, oh, Lordy B, I want to be just like you. Well, what did they really accomplish other than getting white people to love them? Like, that's really it. That's all they did. Do you know how many really amazing black people there are out here that you never talk about, that you never give proper respect to, that your kids don't even know about, because these black people actually had the courage to stand up to the bully? Do you understand how backward that makes you as a community, that your children know everything about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, but don't even know the name of Marcus Garvey? I mean, you should be ashamed of yourself. Seriously, your children don't even know who Marcus Garvey is? And Marcus Garvey stood up to the man. He stood up like nobody's business. They locked his ass up because he stood up to them. But you'll look down on him. You say, well, I don't want to be like that Negro in prison. I want to be like that Negro over here who's shining, who driving a fancy car, who got the Netflix deal, y'all. That's go ahead, y'all. Go ahead, Barack. Man, it's silly. It's absolutely silly. So this is not, if you like nice stuff, I'm not saying that you shouldn't like nice stuff. If you want to be famous, I'm not saying you shouldn't want to be famous. Whatever success means to you, I applaud that. I hope that you get it. But I think that we got to sort of figure out what the boundaries are and what the expectations are for our public figures and our celebrities. The Obamas are able to kind of rampantly parade themselves as this black royalty because you have no standards. Literally, like, you can't name a single goddamn thing that the Obamas in their existence has really truly done for the community in a substantive way. What battle have they really fought? Sure, they went and sat in the White House for 8 years. A white guy could have done that same damn job. A White House could have painted they painted the White House gay, right? A white guy could have done that, right? They put all the little gay colors up or whatever. A white guy could have done that. Seriously. So I'm just saying, like, what are your standards? That's what I'm asking you to do. Is I don't care what your standards are. I just want you to figure out what your standards are going to be, and stick with that. Because I think the Obamas becoming billionaires, just that doesn't do anything for much of anybody other than them. Their kids get to go off to white universities and make lots of money and go to Wall Street or whatever they choose to do. They get to be white people. They get to be honorary white people. That's what they get to become. So what does that do for your community? What does that do for the chaos and dysfunction that you have to deal with? And if you want to know where I stand in terms of where I'm voting and why I'm just not interested in any of this. My heart is still broken over, mass incarceration. My heart is still broken over all the people that are still locked up in prison that the Clintons and the Bidens put in prison back in the 1990s. I think, I just think that until they fix that, I can't move forward from that, because those people are not dead. Those people are still alive. They're still in prison. Their children are still here. They're still feeling that pain. And I think they need to address that. When people just say, oh, well, we apologize, let's move forward. No, you can't move forward and if those people are still alive and still breathing. That doesn't even make any damn sense. So have a standard. What is your standard? What is your damn standard? All right, guys, I'm going to go. Have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Please hit that thumbs up button so that other people can see the video. And also, if you want to learn to buy your first share of stock, there's a free video training you can feel free to watch. It's firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. Yeah, The New Jim Crow is a great book by Michelle Alexander. I know Michelle. I've known her for a long time, and I love Michelle. She keeps it real. Like, that's somebody that I would love to. Like, if Michelle Alexander was running for office, she would get my vote. And because she's a person of substance. She's not a person that's into flashy shit. Like, she doesn't care that she's a celebrity because she wrote some famous book. Like, she's really in there ready to get dirty and ugly with it on behalf of the people that she cares about. And I can confirm this because I've talked to her directly. Those are the types of people that you want to ride with. These fake celebrities who want to just sort of fluffily make everybody happy and live in Martha's Vineyard in a mansion. Those are typically not people that are really going to go to war with you because they're too busy trying to keep up the payments on the Bentley. Right, so that's just my 2 cents. Cynthia McKinney, that's another one. Ride or die. Cynthia McKinney would take a bullet for black people. That's another person I would vote for president. Seriously. So anyway, I'm going to go. So like I said, firstshareofstock.com if you'd like to learn to buy your first share of stock. Also, don't forget we're doing Black Movie Night very soon. We're going to watch Resurrecting Black Wall Street, directed by Dorian Chandler. So if you'd like to join us on Black Movie Night, we're building a black movie industry. We really, really need your help, and we really want to help you also by allowing you to pick directors from your community and make them famous. And so we want you to be involved and engaged. We want you to hit to share the links on your social media, because we're building a movie industry. And my goal is within the next 3 to 5 years, I want us to be able to raise the money and fund $1 million picture in our community, a $1 million movie that we can put out that's made by black people for black people. It's not a big goal compared to all the big money they spend in Hollywood, but it's the beginning. It's a seminal step toward the development of what I think will eventually be a multi-billion, maybe multi-trillion-dollar industry. So let's go hard. We can use your help. blackmovienight.net. That's blackmovienight.net, not .com, .net. So join us, and it's always fun, and it's pretty awesome. So just go to blackmovienight.net and sign up, and you can check it out. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day. Love you. See you soon, and take care. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's